Welcome back to another episode of Bearing It All with Rose and Chrystal. Today is a personal one. It's just going to be me and you. We're going to be chatting deep about something very, very close to your heart and mine because I love you. And so most of you know Chrystal. If you don't, follow her on Instagram or have listened to our potty, I will give you a little bit of a background about her. She is a wonderful human being. She is a real boss bitch, a business owner. She was in the events industry prior to owning her salon Halo Hair. She's a wife and a mum of two. And 2 years ago, she lost her dad, Dwayne. Now, before we go on, I will let you know that this conversation will be discussing suicide. So just a warning before we proceed. So 2 years ago, she lost her dad, Dwayne, to suicide. And the road following that has never been the same, has it?
It hasn't.
So getting started. Let's just actually hear a little bit about your dad first.
He was the light of my life. And I would say most of the people in his life. And it typically is true that they say that people who are predominantly funny, out there, crazy, know how to have a good time, sometimes battle some demons. We've seen this in celebrities who have taken their lives, like Robin Williams, which I'll always reflect back to him because I feel like they were very similar.
Yeah.
But he definitely fought a battle that I wasn't aware of. But yeah, he was just...
He was larger than life, wasn't he?
He couldn't walk into a room and you not notice him. Like he made sure that whether it was with a wig on, dressed as a female, or just himself, you would not be able to not notice him.
He did. He lit up a room. He always had something fun to say. He was very warm, made everyone feel comfortable from all the times that I've met him. He's incredibly funny.
Full of inappropriate jokes too.
My kind of guy, really.
You either loved him or you didn't.
That's right.
Yeah.
We're not here to be liked by everyone at the end of the day. So I can completely resonate with you when you say like your dad and then Robin Williams and people that struggle, you often don't know. Yeah. And it really hits home because those people bring so much joy and light to other people's life.
Yet they hide.
They're hiding
what they're going through.
And it's so important to think about mental health and know that there are so many people around us that are suffering. And I can definitely say, hand on heart, that some of my darkest times of my life, I did it with a smile. So definitely.
I think it's very common.
Yes. All right, so let's just get into it, babe. Tell me about the day that it happened. Oh, I know. I was like, let's just bite the bullet here. Take me through what did you do? Were you asleep?
So
take me through that morning.
I had actually spoken to my dad the night before.
Okay.
And he was meant to come over for dinner and we kept on having conversations back and forth. I think it was over text saying, are you going to still pop over? And he was like, yeah, I will after I have a shower, da-da-da. Anyways, he just didn't come. And I think he called me and he said, I think it was quite late at this point. It might have been 10 or 11 at night. And he said, should I come over now? I want to see the kids. And I was like, they're in bed already, Dad. It was actually school holidays at this time. So my kids didn't go to bed at normal bedtime.
Yeah.
So he would have thought maybe they still might be awake. I was like, they're both in bed. And he was like, I'll just come and play a game of Monopoly with them.
And it was 11 o'clock.
10 or 11 at night. Yep. It was quite late. And I just remember at the time I didn't really think anything of it.
Yeah.
But I was like, no, Dad, they're in bed. Anyways, not that he wasn't a soppy kind of guy because we were still very aware that he loved us and all the rest of it. Yes, he was a cuddler, but not full on.
Yep.
You wouldn't really get too – you knew that he loved you without the affection, if that makes sense.
Yes, yep.
And that night he said a few things to me that now when I think about it, they were red flags that I probably should have picked up on.
Do you mind me asking?
Just expressing his love for me. He expressed that I was one of his greatest achievements in life. Now when
he was almost, oh God, that gives me goosebumps. Like
Yeah,
it's almost his way of saying goodbye.
it was like he was saying goodbye. He wanted me to know that obviously he loved me and
like, yep.
yeah, and I just didn't see. I was like, oh, stop being cheesy. I know you love me.
Yeah.
I just didn't think, because in a million years did I ever think
Yeah.
that Dad was going to ever take his life.
Yeah, which oh God, I'm getting goosebumps. We've spoken about this openly before. I didn't know that he wanted to come around and see the kids.
Yeah,
before.
and even the wanting to play Monopoly, that probably should have been a red flag for me as well, because why did he want to play Monopoly with them at 10, 11 at night?
He wanted to have that like
Last connection with them.
So when you say like you had no idea that he was capable of this, did he show signs of mental health or depression to you prior to this? Like, when was this the most evident for you
So
that he was struggling?
without going into too much details, my parents had separated in December.
Okay.
It was a week before Christmas, I think. It was roughly a week before Christmas. That year was probably the saddest year for my family as well.
Yep.
You know, no separation of parents is ever, I would say, I don't think it's ever that nice.
No.
So Christmas was very different for us.
Did you see that coming, like with your parents as well?
I knew that things were happening behind the scenes, but it was always kind of like, they'll get over it.
Yeah.
They'll get back together kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But I think this time it was a definite, it was over.
It was over. So when did they officially break up then?
When she left, which was, a week before Christmas.
A week before Christmas.
And I don't think Mum thought he was going to be the way he was.
Yep.
But Christmas Day, I just remember Dad slept over and there wasn't going to be a mum and dad at Christmas.
And there's been a mum and dad at Christmas
forever.
For your whole life.
My whole life.
So for 38
So
years.
for me and my kids and for Dad, it was almost a depressing Christmas, to be honest.
Yep.
It was very fresh. He was sad.
Yep.
Everybody was kind of sad. Anyways, I just remember looking at it. I was making Christmas breakfast and I looked outside and he was at the outdoor table and he was just crying. He was crying and crying.
Oh.
And he was trying to drink his coffee and I couldn't help but just stare at him. Like I just was in the feels. Like it also broke my heart.
It's also hard to see your parent, someone that you admire so much, because I know how close you are to your dad, to see them in pain.
But
especially
also
on Christmas
because he's such a strong person. Like not that he didn't cry, but it would be very rare if he cried. Like he cried at my wedding. You just didn't see him cry all that often.
It was so much their generation, wasn't it? Like
be strong, don't show that you're weak, all of that kind of thing. So I think that's when it really became apparent to me that he was not doing well.
Yep.
There was a lot of crying.
Yep.
And I think because he was such that strong kind of person, to see him crying all the time did make me think he's not doing so well.
Yeah, mentally. You knew something was going on with his mental health. You just didn't know how far, because so from what I remember, from the time of the official sort of your mum moving out, it was roughly a month later that he took his own life.
Yeah. So pretty much, a month.
A month. So you'd never really seen it growing up or in your childhood. He wasn't really, never really suffered.
To be honest, like I never really saw any of it, and I don't know if it was whether like both of them, mum and dad, kind of protected us from what I've been made aware of is that he had suffered mental health probably his whole life.
Yep.
But I was never aware of it. And I don't know if it was a bit of like shame and embarrassment behind it.
Yep.
But, you know, after the separation, Dad ended up in Royal Perth in the mental health ward.
Okay.
He was in there for about a week, I think.
Did he go to the hospital himself, or did someone help him?
My sister made the call.
Yep.
She saw a bit of some erratic behaviour that I actually didn't see.
Yep.
And it was scary for her, so she made the call, which I'm grateful that she did because he needed to speak to somebody, and it was forced upon him because he was not the type of person that was just going to go check in and be like, hey, I'm not doing well.
Absolutely. Not only was it not their generation though, Chris, I think they I know my dad doesn't fucking want to talk about that stuff, but it's a male thing as well.
Yeah.
I think you gave me the statistics not too long ago. It's like the majority of suicides in Australia per year are male.
70%.
Yeah, and that's massive. They're not talking about it. They're not expressing their feels. I don't think society still doesn't make them feel like they can express their feelings without being seen as less of a man.
Yeah.
There's that toxic masculinity.
Horrible.
Yeah.
Something we definitely need to stop with our children.
Yeah.
I have that conversation with my son all the time.
Yep.
I think that we need to be open about our emotions. So anyways, he was in the mental health ward, and from what I could tell, there wasn't much or any talk of suicide. It was more that he was struggling with the marriage breakup.
Yep.
I think there was like a little bit in there of like having few suicidal thoughts.
Yeah.
But he went through a lot of, I don't want to say testing, but like they put him through a bit when he was in there, I guess to make sure that if they released him that he wasn't going to be any kind of harm to himself or anybody else.
I mean, that's good that they did that at the end of the day. But I think as well, even for you and Cam, your sister, like, you're thinking, oh my God, okay, they've just been through a marriage breakup. Of course he's going to be really upset.
Yeah.
Of course he may have suicidal thoughts. Well, I suppose not, but you might be able to not dismiss it, but go, I kind of understand that obviously he's so sad that he's never felt like that.
Who's not gone through a breakup and been like, I wish I was dead? Let's be honest here. I hear it all the time.
Yep.
And I'm not saying that it doesn't mean they're going to do it, but most of the time it is a form of like expressing your emotion.
Yeah, like they don't know how to get it out.
Yeah.
People have said
so
things.
I don't think he ever said to me, I want to kill myself.
Yep.
I don't think he ever said that. I think he had thoughts of like, how am I going to do this without her? I wish I was dead kind of thing. I don't think.
Yeah, so that's how you guys were hearing it too.
It didn't feel to me like I should be worried.
Yep. No, that's fair.
But obviously, so then me and my sister had a meeting with the head person of the department who'd done all, talking with him and and they said, look, we don't think that there's anything to worry about.
Okay.
But they had to release him into one of our care for a week.
Oh, yeah, that's fair enough.
He
That's
was
good.
desperate to get out. I just remember going there and he was just like making fun.
So did he stay with you?
He
For the
came,
week?
yeah.
Yeah.
He came straight away. We decided that he would come with me because my sister had 2 small kids at that time. It was just going to be easier, and he actually wanted to come with me anyways. But the whole time he was in hospital, making jokes about the room and the food he was getting, and it was still very lighthearted, even though like he was in a mental health like ward.
Yep.
That to me is quite serious, but he was still kind of like making jokes about it. Yeah.
Still protecting
and that
you
like
guys.
somebody was going with him to have a cigarette. He's like, I don't need to be watched. I'm having a cigarette.
Yeah.
Like he was making fun about it. Anyway, so came out and was with me, and he was like, honestly, like I just want to say he was fine. Like he seemed fine to me. He didn't seem like anything was really.
So, I mean, that's fair because honestly, I think you've gone through a breakup. Anyone would be probably at one of the lowest points of their life. Like, especially your mum and dad have been together since what? They were like 17.
I think my mum was like 16, 17. Dad might have been like 19, 20.
That's my point. Their whole
It was one of their
life.
fresher like relationships that were quite serious. I think that would have been their first serious relationship.
And they stayed together.
And they had kids quite young.
Yeah.
Like I think my mum had me when she was turning 19. So she was 18 turning 19.
So there's huge amounts of history there. They've only been realistically with each other their whole lives. It's a massive thing. So it's only fair that you would be like, okay, Dad's really upset, but he's got reason to be. All right.
So I guess that day, it's like still a bit of a blur, but I remember my husband waking me up and somebody had sent him a message saying, Dav, there's a house on your in-laws' street on fire. Do you want to make sure it's not their house? And so Davin then woke me up and he said, Chris, there's a fire on your parents' street. Call your dad.
What time was this?
I want to say 5:30 in the morning.
Okay. Did you call him?
Quite early. I called him and his phone was off.
Okay.
And I just kept on calling and calling and calling and calling. And it just kept going to his voicemail. And I still didn't think it was him, but I was shaking.
You started to feel.
I started to feel like questions were going through my head. Is it their house? Yep. What's happened? Then pretty much short after that, I think we were getting ready to just drive there anyway. Yep. Like, we'll just go see. And then my phone rang and it was a police officer.
Were you at home?
I was at home.
Okay.
This part irritates me so badly when I think about it because I was not asked where I was, if I was driving, if I was at home, if I was alone. I was not asked any of these questions, which I think would have been important to ask somebody when you're about to land something on them that's going to particularly ruin their life.
Okay.
I was then said that I was a contact left and that there was a deceased man at the house.
And that was your parents' address?
It was my parents' address. So he'd said there's a deceased man at so-and-so, this house.
Did they ask you to come?
They said, is that your parents' address? And I said, yes.
And then?
That was the last word that I could even speak. I could not speak. I was hysterically crying, shaking, screaming. My kids were still in bed and my husband had to run out and I just couldn't talk anymore and he just took the phone off of me and said, like, who is this? What's happened? I don't remember how I know that we got in the car, but I
don't remember any of
the drive. I don't really remember the drive.
How far away is it?
10 minutes, less.
It was like a blur.
It was a blur.
That's exactly. Oh,
I just kept thinking this is not happening.
Yeah, it's surreal at this point.
Mm-hmm.
It is important. The fact that you said you could have been like, what if you were driving?
I would have had a car accident.
Like how? Like
if I was alone. Like imagine being on my own, hearing that.
I know. I think there has to be. I know that the police. I have like respect for it and everything, but I know they do it every day. And they've become a little bit desensitized.
Mm-hmm.
But I
they're
think
still
there
dealing
has to
with
be,
a human
that's
who,
exactly right.
You know, for me.
There has to be some sort of protocol. I would hate to think if that person was alone or wasn't sitting down or was driving.
I kept on thinking if I was driving, I would have driven off the road like and had an accident.
You would have.
I would have gone into the back of somebody else. Like I was in hysterics.
Yeah. So you got to the house. And what is the first thing you see?
We actually couldn't get into the street. It had been blocked off. So police had blocked off the street. And as sickening as it is, people were trying to get there to film it, to film the house burning down. Now, at this point, I just knew that I couldn't get into the street. We'd pulled up in the next street, which there was a park between two streets.
Yep.
So we parked on the other side of the street and we just walked across. I didn't walk, I ran.
Yep.
And I just remember my husband and some police officers having to hold me back because I wanted to run into the fire.
Were you trying to get into the house?
I wanted to go into the house. There was probably about, it's so hard to even remember, but I know there was definitely more than 2 fire trucks there.
Was the whole house, I know this is ablaze.
So when I had gotten there, it had already been on fire for maybe an hour.
Far out.
So pretty much it was a shell. And at this point, the roof was starting to collapse.
And this was the family home?
Family home that I had lived in since I was about 13. So lots of memories there. My kids' Christmas is there.
There's
so
a
much
lot to take in. There's like so much in that moment as well.
But in that moment, I wasn't thinking about any of that stuff. I
thought about him.
I just kept thinking that that they'd got it wrong, that he was going to be alive inside.
Yeah.
And I was hyperventilating to the point of being sick.
Yep.
And I just remember screaming, Dad, like just screaming.
Wanting him to come out, basically.
Or him to hear me, or I know that I had been told that he was deceased, but I'm thinking the house is on fire. How do you
know?
How do you know? How do you know he's not under something and he's okay? I didn't realise the extent of the damage of the fire. The house was just nothing. Nothing was left. There was a news crew there filming, and I just remember my husband saying to me, stand up, they're filming. Like, I guess for him, he was worried that, you know, I was in such a mess. Like, I guess he was worried that this was going to be aired on TV, and not that it would be, well, it might be embarrassing for me. I don't know. He was worried. But then I did see, or I was told that the police had told them, look, at this point they knew that it was a suicide.
Yeah.
And for them to leave.
Thank God. Yeah.
Thank God.
No
I
one
think
needs
it still was on the news, and it was still on all the Facebook groups, but they didn't mention that it was a suicide. I think they just had mentioned that it was a house fire and a loss of life.
Was there some point that you needed to see to actually make it real?
I wanted to see his body.
Yep.
And I kept on asking and begging them. But anyways, in between, I ended up having to go into an ambulance and be put on oxygen. I couldn't breathe properly. I'd got myself so worked up that the ambulance drivers were like, if you don't settle your breathing down, you're going to end up in hospital, because my blood pressure was through the roof and I couldn't get my breathing to regulate. Like, it was very, I can't even describe it.
Yeah.
It's still very much a blur, but I just remember them being like, slow breaths in and out, and that just wasn't happening, and I was getting angry because I was like, you don't even know how I'm feeling right now.
Yeah, like, fuck off.
You can't tell me how to breathe. Like, it's my body reacting.
Yes.
Anyways, my dad had a trailer, and he had packed his entire trailer and car with whatever objects he thought would have been wanted by people. Majority of it.
Important things?
Yeah, important things. Majority of it being my stuff, and also his DJ equipment that he obviously couldn't let go.
He was like, I'm not parting with that.
No. I wish there was other things of his that I just think he just wasn't thinking about any of that.
Crystal's dad was a part-time DJ as well.
Yeah. So he loved to DJ and make people laugh, and just he was an entertainer. He was an entertainer. Anyways.
When did your mum and sister find out? Did they come down?
They knew. I think Davin had let my mum know that morning. I think they knew quite early, but I think to the extent of what they had been told by family who lived in the area not to come there, because it was quite a traumatic scene to look at. One, your house is on fire, and two, you've lost, a family member.
Yes.
So they didn't actually come and witness any of the things that I did, which has been humongous for me in my life, because that day replayed for a long time.
I think it still does. You have your
moments,
moments, even those traumatic.
I don't know that I was dreaming about him being in a fire for months after. Months. I would see his face in flames for months and months, and I kept thinking about what did his body look like. It was quite a lot for me.
Yeah.
But anyways, so he had actually written on his front windscreen, he'd put a piece of paper in his front windscreen, and it said, please call my daughter and my phone number. And I think he had my sister's phone number underneath. Yeah. So he'd left.
He was ready. He was doing this. Mm-hmm. The fact he packed everything into the trailer, he'd really meticulously gone through the house. And did he get like photo albums or anything like
photos, my mum's cookbooks, any bits of mine. Like, I had like some old memorabilia from when I was a teenager.
Like, he kept
like CDs and just some stuff that would have been in my old bedroom.
Yep.
So some of the passed away, like granny's things, all my teacups that were there. Oh. He'd hand wrapped them all.
So they weren't previously hand wrapped?
No, they were just sitting on like this cabinet in a spare room. So he'd gone in there,
hand wrapped them,
hand wrapped all of them into a box.
Did he leave a note?
He left a journal, pretty much. It was a very thick A4 journal, back to back, and I think he'd already started this prior. It's reading it, I'm very aware that this is something that he'd been journaling.
It was a lot, hey? There was a lot of writing in there.
He'd been journaling, I think, for quite a while about his feelings.
Yep.
And then the last, obviously, 24 hours or whatever, he'd written a decent, I want to say 10 to 20 pages. Very full on stuff. Like it's, at first when I read it, it didn't really make sense. But the more I've read it over the time, it's almost like it's cryptic.
Like,
he'd written a lot of it in song lyrics as well. He was very musical.
yes.
I know to like some people they might think, oh, that's a bit weird. But for him to write in lyrics is like his life. He listened to music every day of his life. He was really into music. He connected with music. Like,
it does make sense to me, like that, you know, like some songs, they have a feeling or a meaning.
why do you think music is written? Like,
that's
you know,
exactly
it's a breakup song or it's a wedding song or
Exactly.
we connect to music. And I think, so Bohemian Rhapsody is a song that he had written his life in. And this is why whenever we hear this song, we always like do a little tribute to him.
We're like, hey, Dwayne, what you doing?
That was his song. He loved Freddie Mercury, like loved.
Yeah, because he was wild.
Like if Dad was going to turn gay, he would turn gay for Freddie Mercury. My mum and Dad went on a cruise and they had like a guy, what is it called? Like a, you know when they dress up like them and they reenact all the songs and.
yeah, like an
a-
impersonator.
Yeah, like a tribute impersonator.
Yeah.
My dad went 3 days in a row.
He just loved it.
He loved it so much. Like even had a photo with this dress up guy. Was obsessed.
Like Freddie Mercury is
He
like
was a sexy, like
he was a sexy man.
Yeah.
He was also incredible and larger than life
yeah.
and full of personality, a lot like your dad actually was in the flesh.
Yeah.
So you've received these calls.
Yeah.
Life has now changed forever.
100%.
So moving on. So like, what did you do? Like after it's all said and done, after the funeral.
The funeral didn't happen for I think a month.
See,
It felt like a really long time. And it was because there was not an investigation, but
yeah, I think
he had to go to the coroner and it took a long time that because of him being in a fire, they had to do like obviously
They had to obviously make sure it was him.
DNA. That's right.
Yep.
Pull records from his dentist to make sure. Which, even though I knew he was in a fire, I still wanted to see him, and they just wouldn't allow it.
No,
They just said that as a person, I would not be able to cope with actually. But I kept thinking, surely what I'm seeing in my head is worse than what it could actually be. That's what I kept thinking.
I think as well they probably don't want you to remember that as the last thing you see.
I know, but then for the rest of my life, I'm going to be wondering.
You have said this.
I still am like, did Dad fake his death?
Why? I'm going to get the giggles here because I
Yeah,
know
well, you
why
knew what he's like.
I know what you're like.
I just like
She sometimes has said to me, I feel like Dad's just going to pop up and be like,
I faked it all.
fucked it. Like, here I am, bitches.
I don't know why I just think that. Like, I know that it was him. His teeth records, it was all him. You know, they gave us his earring. It was him. But I just always in the back of my head. Yeah, I don't have any closure.
Proper closure.
No.
Because it didn't feel real.
It still doesn't feel real.
Actually, I remember when my non died and I didn't want to see her in the casket, but I knew that if I didn't, I wouldn't believe it.
Yeah, that's right.
I had to see it. And it has actually, like, it's stuck. That image of her didn't look like her, didn't feel like her to me. I kind of regret that was the last image that I saw of her. But I get that because I didn't believe that she was gone because I didn't get to see her that
I felt
day.
like I needed to see him.
Yeah.
I know that sounds messed up because in no way, shape or form does anybody
even
look
touch.
nice when they've been in a house fire. Like I can't imagine he would be looking nice, but I just didn't feel real. And it just, I don't know. I don't know why I thought that. But anyways, I did wait until they wheeled out was, Dad. They did have it covered. And that didn't give me a sense of relief. But then I kind of knew, okay, they've taken him out of the house.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't leave
until
that part was done.
Yeah,
and I still, like, that full day was just, I was numb. There was not an inch of any kind of, I'd cried the full morning and then I just sat in this state of like numbness.
So in the months following, what was going on for you? Like, did you work? Could you work?
No.
How are people – I know that people get really awkward. So at first it's everyone checking in on you.
I don't think I announced it on my platform for like a week or two. And it was like radio silence. I went into a really dark place. Obviously, when you lose somebody to suicide, it was a shock for the entire family. Whole entire family was shocked. But some things were said, I'm not going to mention names, but some things were said by certain people that felt almost like felt like I was being attacked. And I just lost a major, huge person in my life.
So what were they? Was it just insensitive or was it
I think it was just still that they were also shocked about what had just happened and it didn't make sense and why and how and who and why you and why did he write your name, and it was just a lot. It was a lot. But, you know, and now I think about it, I'm like, hurt things make people do hurt things.
Yep, hurt people.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say.
I know you did.
Came out wrong.
Yeah, that you're in the
hurt people. So now I can see that, but in the time I was just like, why is this happening? I just want my dad.
Yep.
And also I was mad at him.
Yeah, see, the stages of grief, that's important.
So angry.
So you were shocked?
Shocked, angry, sad, depressed, so angry for a while. Like so mad that he could leave me.
Yep.
Like we went to each other for everything. Like I'm not going to say I had an abnormal relationship with my dad, but I find a lot of people have closer relationships with their mums.
And you were really close to your dad.
So close to dad. Like in my previous business, we worked together every weekend. We were the two clowns, like joking around constantly. There wasn't ever a dry eye. Like I'm telling you now, I don't know how many times I almost pissed my pants with him. Yeah. He just knew how to make me laugh. He was so funny.
And that's the thing. After that, you sold Carnival Creations. You sold the business. You couldn't do it without him.
I think I mentioned it to my husband. I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. I can't. I physically can't. I don't want to.
It's not him.
The weekend after he died, I actually had to do a job. It was the Friday. I think he'd passed away on the Monday. And the Friday I had to do an event. And I said, it was someone's wedding. And I was like, I can't do it. And my husband was like, your dad would be so mad at you if you cancelled on this person for their wedding.
Yep.
He's like, he would be mad at you. So my whole entire family, I reckon there was about 6 of us, rocked up to do the wedding. Half of them didn't even know what they were doing, but they would just like, tell me what to do. Unwrap this, put that there. I did it so numb with no emotion. I was not there really. Like my hands knew how to do the work, but my brain wasn't there.
Yep. No, that's fair.
And I remember the photographer, somebody had said to her, you know, her dad just passed away Monday. And she was in shock. She was like, why is she here? Anyways, the bride ended up finding out, and I got the longest email saying she couldn't believe that I just had a massive loss and I was at her wedding and she appreciated it and she couldn't believe it and she was in shock. But for me, I was like, I don't know, I just did it. Just got it done.
You're like, I just didn't
And I think that was probably one of the last events that I did, to be honest.
Yep.
I think I'd cancelled a few. I was just done. I could not go to another event without him.
And you sold it fairly soon after.
I put it up and within 3 hours it sold.
There you go. It is wild. It does feel surreal. Like I feel even just you talking about it, it still to some point doesn't feel real. And I've watched you go through the ups and the downs of grief. It's 2 years on and it doesn't necessarily get better at all. People always say that it does, but like it doesn't, does it? In some ways, it doesn't feel easier or...
This is like, I don't want to say controversial, but like, you know, people always say like, oh, you'll not get over it, but like...
Time heals or wounds.
Yeah, I don't know. You get told a million things when you lose somebody really close. They'll be like, don't worry, you'll feel better soon or whatever they say. Yep. I think I heard a million different quotes. But I'm not going to say that. I think you get good at living with your grief.
Yes.
You get good at living with your grief, but the grief is still there. Never does it ever go away. You get good at just living day to day with it.
You learn to live with it.
You learn to live with it. It
doesn't go away.
No, it doesn't go away. There's going to be I remember at work one day. I was walking to the bottle shop to buy some alcohol for work, and on the floor was a homeless man sleeping, and from the back it looked like my dad. I wanted to wake this person up to see if it was him. In that moment, my brain was saying, there's your dad just sleeping on the street. Because here, remember, he faked his death. He's now a homeless person. These are the things that my brain was telling me. So still to this day, I will see somebody wearing short shorts because he wore the most ridiculous short scaffolding shorts. Could almost see his bum hanging out the bottom with the rubber thongs walking through Bunnings, right?
And it will catch your
back of his head with a cap on, short shorts and rubber thongs. And I remember seeing a guy in Bunnings and I just started crying. Honestly, just started crying. And I know this person isn't my dad, but 100% he reminded me of my dad. He had the tan lines where the short shorts are meeting, you know, the rest is white and it's the so
hair and
everything just, and I think for the rest of my life, like I'm going to have reminders of songs, smells. He smelt like a dirty cigarette.
And now that's got like the best.
If I smell that smell now, I'm like,
you're breathing in it.
Dad. Oh. Yeah, like he was a hard worker, so he smelt like most of the time cigarettes and BO. But now when I smell that cigarette BO smell, I'm like, I miss that smell.
You miss it. Yeah, it's your memories of him.
Yeah, and also his aftershave. You know, I've got a work shirt of his from the house and we actually did put it through the wash because it actually smelt like the ash from the fire. But then after it was washed, it smelt like him.
And you're like, yeah.
So I still kind of sniff that from time to time.
Yeah.
And I still listen. You know, I had to disconnect his phone and it took me a year. I was paying his phone bill for a full year.
So you could listen to like
so that I could just call it and it ring and like me listen. Actually, I don't know if it rang. I think it just went straight to voicemail, but just so that I could have that.
You could listen to his voice.
And I remember my husband saying, let's just download it. We can download his, you know, voice recording. So now I've got that. Yeah. So, you know, but anyways, it's just, there's going to be reminders. And for me, I have a lot of abandonment issues now. A lot of abandonment. I'm really afraid of people that I love leaving me. And I'm not going to say that's a great trait to have. It's actually not because I become quite clingy to people.
But it's more of a result of what you've been through, the trauma.
Yeah, I was never like this prior.
So now you don't want to see that someone else that's important in your life leave.
No, it actually makes me feel ill. Like if I'm going to lose somebody that I care about, like I have major abandonment issues now and quite a few trust issues as well.
Yeah,
because of everything that's happened. And also too, things trigger me. Different things that people will say to me.
Sounds. I know that with you.
Just, like.
Sirens.
Yep,
things
sirens
like
trigger me.
Yep.
There's just things now that, it's like I have to learn to live with my triggers.
Do you find that, in your opinion, people, when they're talking, you're like, how did you lose your dad? And you say suicide, that it is an awkward moment sometimes and that there's shame still around that?
I think they get shocked that I openly speak about it.
Yes, I think they do too, to be honest.
And also too, I think because I've spoken about it so much, to me it's not that traumatic anymore. Like, I don't know.
It helps you.
It is still, you know, losing somebody that you love in a house fire, especially when you know that they purposely lit it. Of course but now to me, because I've spoken about it so much, but when I'm telling the story to somebody, their face is like they're really in shock.
Yeah.
They're shocked that they can't believe that I'm speaking about it so
openly.
Well, openly and like naturally. I don't know how to, you know what I mean? Like,
because I have always felt that people feel that it's a taboo subject.
Yeah.
There is shame around it and it shouldn't,
100%. I know that Dad didn't openly speak about it to anybody. Maybe he spoke about it with my mum.
Yep.
But I don't think he openly told people, hey,
I'm not having a good day. I'm not feeling good.
I sometimes think about killing myself. I don't think he openly said that to anybody. I think he hid it quite well.
Yep.
And even maybe was lying to himself a little bit. And I think that night he must have got into some sort of decision making of, no, this is it. I'm done.
I'm done. I'm done with this pain that I'm feeling.
Yep.
It is full on. It's still, just watching from afar as your friend, it is surreal to think that it even happened sometimes. And then I am really proud of you that you talk about it, to be honest. I love how open you are about it because not everybody can be. And hearing these stories are important. This is part of life. Suicides happen every single day, so often, too often. And we like to just push that like it doesn't exist. We push that out. Oh, think positively. Let's pretend that bad stuff doesn't exist. If we do actually start talking about it, maybe if your dad did talk about it more or didn't feel like shame and was open about it and didn't try to mask it with a smile, which, you know what, to be honest, I completely understand why he did it. I've done it. And, yeah, maybe he would have been able to.
Do you know what actually shocked me was that morning, I'll never forget, the constable that was there said that he attends a house fire at least once or twice a fortnight of men that have burnt their houses down. Where is that ever, like, how would anybody – I know we don't want to promote suicide, like look like we're trying to promote suicide in any kind of way of like, hey, look, another man's taking their life. But it needs to be made more aware that people are doing this. Like,
I wouldn't have known that every second week he attends a house
burnt down,
specifically and most commonly by a male.
I think men have like a connection to their surroundings of like, this is my house.
Yep.
No one else is going to live here.
Yep.
You know, after a breakup as well, it's like no one ever is going to live here but me.
Yes.
That's where a lot of that comes from, I think, and that's why he went down that route.
So do you feel like the breakup did trigger in some ways?
No one else was ever going to have that house but him.
Yep.
And that's why he did what he did.
He wanted to.
And I know that some people are never going to understand why, and even myself, like I'm still not going to understand why he chose that path. But I have to accept it. That's the way that he wanted to leave. And yes, it was horrible for me to watch. And actually a few months after, my cousin went to a medium psychic and my dad took over the whole thing. He could not wait to talk about it. I know. And she went there to talk about her own, you know, maybe loss of grandparents or whatever, but Dad couldn't wait. He did say during that he's sorry that I had to see it and he didn't think about it. So I think in that time he didn't realize how much it was going to affect me.
Yeah, he wasn't thinking that way at all.
No.
He was just thinking about his pain.
But I was thinking about it. I kept thinking like, how putting my name on the car and you knew I was going to be the first one here and you knew I was going to see this and you knew how I was going to feel.
Yeah.
You knew what it was going to do to me. I just kept thinking that over and over again. Like I felt so hurt by him.
Yeah. That's where that anger came in as well.
Anger and the anger of like, you left me. You didn't even say goodbye to me, which obviously his conversation the night before was his version of saying goodbye.
Yeah.
But I was so mad.
I think as well, this just brings up the most important thing of all is that you need to ask people if they're okay, even the ones that look happy, even the ones that aren't showing it. And you need to be ready to listen. It's not just a superficial, how you going?
And two, we've had this conversation before when like somebody asks you how you're going and people have asked me and I've said, not so good. They're like, oh, that's a shame. Move on to the next subject. Everyone feels awkward about you not being okay and that needs to stop.
Yep.
Like you need to be able to have a conversation with somebody and actually open your damn ears and be like, even if it's so uncomfortable for you to listen to, you know, like I recently went through another dark time and I reached out to you and it's awkward and uncomfortable to tell somebody how you're feeling, but at the same time, all you did was listen and support me.
Yeah, there's not a lot you can do.
You know, you could have been like, oh, this is uncomfortable. I'll chat to you another time.
You've got to be ready. Like, you can't take the chance. If you have the time, do it.
Yeah.
Like, listen and actually listen. You don't even have to have a response. Sometimes they just need you to listen to them. And I think you just wanted to get stuff off your chest.
And I wasn't comfortable. Yes, I told my husband, but I felt comfortable telling you how I was feeling. And I think if somebody is reaching out to you, please don't fob them off. Yeah. Like if somebody's actually telling you, I'm not doing okay right now, I maybe need somebody to speak to, like just listen. That's it. You don't have to give advice. You're not a fucking therapist. Like,
Yeah.
just listen.
And even occasionally just check in. How are you going? I was thinking of you today. I know that it can be hard to be a friend or be a kid, a child, a daughter to someone that does suffer with mental health. My dad has suffered depression most of his life, most of my childhood. I have struggled being that daughter because it can be hard watching them disconnect. He has been like not more open about it, but I don't think he's had a choice.
Yeah.
So his mental health has taken him down a path where he just doesn't want to get out of bed or didn't want to talk or is completely numb even to us as his family and projects stuff, and it can be really hard to grow up in that. But so many people, including like people that were close to him, were like, just get over it. You've got a good life. Get over it. What have you got to be sad about? They've actually said that shit to him. And I'm like, that has done no good. He's doing really well now. Don't get me wrong. But
it's the same with new mums, you know. They get postnatal depression. People are like, what are you upset about? You've got a brand new baby and you're happily married and you've got a new home, whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
And it's like, get over it.
Yeah, and to have that said to you and completely dismiss that mental health exists is so, like, of course then you go back into your shell and you don't want to tell anyone and you hide it. And even what you said with postnatal depression, it really fucking hits home.
Yeah.
Because that was me. And people, after the fact that I've come out nearly 3 years later, have only said to me now, oh, I knew you weren't yourself. I knew you were in a dark place. I knew that wasn't you.
Thanks for checking in.
And I was like, I didn't know I needed you.
Yeah.
I actually didn't. When you're in it, you don't know that you need someone. It's weird. I think you know what I mean. Like,
yeah.
But at the time, I wish you would have asked me how I was. I wish you would have just come over and sat with me.
So you didn't feel so alone.
So I didn't feel alone. So I had someone to talk to. So I had someone to cry with that I could actually open up with. And you don't know you need it until.
And this is the thing. A lot of people that are facing these things do feel very alone.
Yeah.
And depression does not always look the same. That's also another important thing I need to touch base here. Sometimes people will push people away. They might get angry. They might be sad. There's so many different faces of depression. And like with my dad, he hit it so well. Like he was smiling and laughing literally days before. So just remember that depression does not always look the same. And, you know, your best friend, your mum, your sister could be going through it and maybe they're hiding it and you don't know. So I think it's important to open up those conversations, make it more of a common thing that we talk about our emotions. I wish I had have done it more with Dad. I wish that was something that we talked about more. Maybe I would have had more insight onto what was going on. So just like constantly checking in with people. That's like one major thing I can say now, because the amount of suicides that are happening every year, it is insane.
Everybody, I'm going to say it, everybody knows someone that has taken their own life or knows somebody that has had someone in their life take their own life. And it's all too common. It doesn't discriminate. No. And it doesn't even discriminate. It doesn't discriminate between children or adults or men or women.
I know that the common age group for men was 15 to 22. That's the most common age group for suicide in men. So young. Like my son is 2 years away from being 15 and that scares the crap out of me.
Yeah. So we've got to have these conversations from a young age. I think it does start young, especially if you're a mum. And we were saying about your dad, it wasn't common. And it wasn't common for my dad to talk about it. It was embarrassing.
Yeah.
You don't tell people.
Yeah.
Because that was the way they were raised. Men had to be strong. Men don't cry. Boys don't cry.
Yeah.
That is still very prevalent, I reckon, even in today's society.
100%.
That hasn't left.
How many times have you seen, you know, a man say to his child, grow up, stop acting like a girl.
Yep. You're a pussy.
Yeah. Just things like so triggering for me. Like just don't ever say that to your son or your daughter.
Yep.
Like.
Oh, I have heard even from people within my own age group, like put down their son for dressing a little bit too girly or show off their feminine side.
Yeah.
And being told that,
That's how it starts. This is how mental health issues start. And we might not realize that we're doing it to our own children.
Yeah.
Just be careful, because your mind is just a very delicate object.
It is. We can all relate to that.
Mm-hmm.
All of us have been through stuff. So, exactly, take care of your mind. And
I think too, it is very important that if you don't have that, support around you, you don't have really anybody to reach out to. There are companies like Lifeline, Beyond Blue, the Black Dog Institute.
Yes.
There's so many different outlets now that you can reach out to and just literally voice.
Have a chat. That's what they're there for. They're not judging you. They know nothing about your life. They know nothing about you personally. But sometimes, like Chrystal said before, you just need someone to listen.
Mm-hmm.
So if you are out there and you are experiencing intrusive thoughts, or you are struggling with your mental health in any capacity, please remember that you can talk to somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And, Lifeline is there. They are 13 11 14. That's their number. There are different places that you can even go in person, talk to your GP about it, talk to family, talk to your friends. If your work colleagues ask you, tell them. And a lot of workplaces, I will mention, actually offer a lot of workplaces now have counselling support, which is all anonymous. So you can just go to your HR department and say, look, I need some help.
Mm-hmm.
There's
they offer sessions
Yes.
with, I think the one thing that did shock me was my son was suffering with some mental health, and we went on a mental health plan, and we went to a private psychologist, and the sessions are still $100 plus, right?
Yep.
So they gave me the option, wait on a waiting list or go and see somebody now and pay for it.
Yep.
For me, I was going straight away to pay for it. But there are people out there that don't have that extra money.
Yeah.
They don't have that privilege of being able to pay for it. And the fact that they have to wait 1, 2, 3 years to see somebody, I'm still shocked. We pay so much money in taxes. Why is this not a free service?
I think, how can they put the risk with people's mental health and say go on a waiting list for 3 years?
Because it's still not taken seriously enough. How many people need to commit suicide? Honestly, how many? I understand that there is phone lines that you can call.
Yeah.
But if you're not doing well, go to a hospital straight away.
Exactly.
If you go to a hospital, if you rock up to Royal Perth and you say, look, I'm not doing well, they will take you in straight away. Fuck this waiting 2 to 3 years to see somebody. Nuh-uh.
There's so much privilege as well, assuming that everybody suffering with mental health has the money to pay for therapy or to do something about it, or even that they have a support system.
Yeah.
Because even like your dad had a beautiful support system, had a big family, anyone would have fucking been really open and willing to help had they would have known. But not everyone even has that.
No.
So it is quite privileged to think that everybody can access these, services.
That's right.
And that's really sad as well. So I'm really fucking glad we're talking about this, and we will continue to, because there's a lot of passion behind Bearing It All, and we want to carry on Dwayne's legacy. He was a good man. He was a fun man, and he would fucking love that we were chatting about him. He would love it.
He would be frothing right now.
And I got goosebumps, but I'm sort of thinking right here, the things you learn from pain and the way that you can grow from pain and, teach others and do something good with it. That's what we're doing here. That's what you're doing. So many good things have happened. You've done so many incredible things since. I'm so proud of you.
I literally just do everything now like I could die tomorrow.
Does his death change your perspective
Yes.
of death and your life itself?
It just makes me think, why am I saying no to opportunities when I could literally die tomorrow?
Do you have more of an appreciation for life, I should have said then?
I don't know if I appreciate life more, because I feel like there's not enough hours in a day, and literally a blink of an eye, the day's over.
Yep.
But I think now I just throw caution to the wind in everything I do now. I'm like, what's the worst that could happen?
Yeah. So
I could not be here.
It definitely has changed the way you live.
Yes. And everyone keeps on saying to me, you're so fearless. Like, you just do things. How and why? And I'm like, well, why can't you?
Yeah, you're like, you only get, apparently we only live once. So
Which,
we don't know. But let's live well.
that's right.
Yeah.
Do the damn thing. Like,
I mean,
I'm always going to be scared. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm going to be afraid. I'm super afraid of death. I don't want to die anytime soon. I don't want to leave my kids behind. I don't want to leave my friends behind. I don't want to leave my husband behind. Like, I don't want to die, but if it happens, then it happens. At least I know I've lived. I tried to live the best I could.
yes. So, guys, live well. We all deserve to have the most beautiful, full lives for yourself.
Don't hold yourself back.
And you deserve to be happy. If you're not in a good state right now, you actually deserve happiness. And I can promise you this, even from personal experience, they always say this too shall pass. And you think when you're in the depths of it, when you're sitting there depressed, sad, questioning how you're feeling about this life, that you will never get out of it. It just feels like it's so dark you cannot see the light. But every day you fight and eventually you're like, you look back and you go, oh my God, I made it. Like,
but that also doesn't mean that you'll go into a dark hole again. Like, it's sometimes just a fucking deep ocean and you're just swimming. Yeah.
That's right. Just keep swimming.
Sometimes you're swimming and it's fucking rough and it's wavy and you're getting dunked and you're swallowing water, and then other times you're just kind of floating along.
That's right. You're riding the waves, bitches. I was like, fucking, life is a fucking roller coaster. Sometimes you're literally shitting your pants on the way down, and then you're cruising up and you're enjoying the ride and you're screaming out of excitement, and then you're fucking terrified again because you think you're going to die. So, yeah, like you're not alone. That's our biggest message, I think.
You are not alone ever. You're never, ever alone.
So we're going to leave you with this. Chrystal, please impart us with some wisdom, some love, and, you know, your thoughts.
Look, it's so hard for me because of everything I've gone through, but I just think at the end of the day, like, you're never, ever a burden on anybody. And this is the one thing that my dad thought. He thought he was going to be a burden on me. He thought he was going to be a burden on everybody, which is why he didn't say the things he did. And he thought that if we had to live with him being the way he was, he would burden us. You're not a burden on anybody.
I love that.
You are never going to be a burden on anybody. I can guarantee there are multiple people in your life that love you, and somebody is going to be there to care about what you're going through. So don't ever, 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 ever think you're a burden.
Yes.
That's the one thing, if I could pass on to anybody, just know that, because, yeah, I know that there's probably a million people in the world that think they're a burden on somebody, but you are not.
You matter.
You matter.
Yeah. The way you show up, who you are in this world, it does matter. You're unique. You're not supposed to be like everybody else. So if you are in ever of need of a chat, or you feel that you need to talk to someone, like we said, we're going to pop all the information we can in the show notes. There's Lifeline, Beyond Blue, all their numbers will be there. But also don't forget to check in and ask people if they are okay. Not just on one day a year, every day of the year. Anytime. Check in on your friends, your family, your loved ones, and your work colleagues, and always take care of yourselves.
And take care of each other.
Love you.
Love you too. Bye.